Hey guys, so in this video we're going to be talking about natriuretic peptides. Now let's dissect the word. Natri refers to natrium, which was the original name for sodium, and that explains why it's Na on the periodic table. And uretic refers to the urinary system. So anytime you see uretic or uresis, you can think urinary system. Now, some things we need to talk about. We know that the natriuretic peptides work in opposition to the RAAS, or the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. Now, the natriuretic peptides work in order to reduce salt levels, reduce arterial blood pressure, and reduce ECF volume. And this occurs by the heart releasing ANP, which is atrial natriuretic peptide, and BNP, which is brain natriuretic peptide. So easy to remember, atria, atrial. The brain and ventricles, not so much. Now, if we look here, natriuretic peptides work in a couple of ways. The first two ways are they block reabsorption of sodium by the distal portion, the distal collecting tubules of the nephron. Now, that is important, especially when you look at the fact that the salt-conserving renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, so the RAAS system, that gets inhibited as well. Now, when you have reduced conservation and reduced reabsorption, what you end up getting is increased excretion, because generally, when this system is not being in use, what ends up happening is the peritubular capillaries reabsorb the salt, and it doesn't get excreted. Now, all the salt that goes into the urine also brings in water via osmosis. Now that, in turn, does everything we're trying to do. It helps correct high salt, high blood pressure, and high ECF volume. Now the next thing that occurs is that you end up getting inhibition of the smooth muscles of the afferent arterioles. Now when you have inhibition of the smooth muscles, you end up getting increased dilation, because when you inhibit the smooth muscle, the only thing they would do if they were not inhibited is constrict. Now if we look here, when you have vasodilation, you get higher glomerular capillary blood pressure because more blood's flowing through. And that results in higher net filtration pressure, which then results in a higher glomerular filtration rate, which means that you're going to end up having more of the sodium and water being filtered. Now combine that with the fact that you're not reabsorbing and not conserving it, and you end up getting more water and more sodium excreted. Now, on this last leg, we have inhibition of the sympathetic nervous system. Now that in turn reduces cardiac output, and it reduces total peripheral resistance. And this makes sense because total peripheral resistance would refer to the resistance that occurs via vasoconstriction. And when the sympathetic nervous system gets inhibited, you have less vasoconstriction, so there's less resistance. Now between lower cardiac output and lower peripheral resistance, you get lower blood pressure. And that is another thing we're trying to solve. So all in all, you can see how the natriuretic peptides work to reduce salt, so they help correct high salt, it helps correct high ECF volume, and it helps correct high arterial blood pressure. And don't forget, natriuretic means salt in the urinary system, natrium and uresis. Thank you guys for your time. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them below. And don't forget to download our app. There is a free practice problem app, and you can find the link to it in the description of this video. Thanks, guys.